By the mid-1990s, the Dead Sea Scrolls show up everywhere in news and particularly on tabloids. Now, while the tabloids are for entertainment value, there is a lot of conspiracy theories about somehow these ancient scrolls spoke into our own day, or more often than not, prophesied things about the imminent end of the world, which is typically just around the corner. Now, while there's a lot of interesting things going on there culturally in our own time asking those questions, in some way those tabloids or news stories connect to a really timeless question about how is it that cultures and communities throughout time have looked at their past experiences, their at times difficult present, and then tried to project a better future. Now, one of the places we see this happen, probably our earliest place we see this happen, is in fact among the Dead Sea Scrolls and in the Hebrew Scriptures. Many writers in these collections are looking back at imperial history of empires rising and falling, and they're trying to detect patterns. Is there a rhythm? Is there a rhyme to why the empires are rising and falling? And if so, can they interpret when the divine rule of God will finally set things right? For readers of the Hebrew Scriptures, the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament, you're probably familiar with this idea from the book of Daniel, like Daniel 2, where there's a vision of a four-tiered statue, or Daniel 7, where there's a symbolic vision of four beasts coming out of the chaotic waters. Now, in their world, in their time, those symbols related really to four ancient empires: Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece. But as any history buff knows, as the Greek Empire began to crumble, the Romans emerged as the new imperial superpower in the Mediterranean and ancient Near East. So was the prophecy wrong, or did it need to be rethought? One of the patterns that we see in that text, as well as in some ancient Jewish writings in Aramaic among the Dead Sea Scrolls, counts four kingdoms. And those four kingdoms are always open to interpretation for how they will somehow signal the inbreaking of the kingdom of God. In one writing among the Dead Sea Scrolls, aptly called Four Kingdoms, we have an ancient Jewish dreamer, a seer, who encounters four trees in a symbolic dream vision. As this seer engages with these four trees, the first one, in fact, tells us its name. It says, "I am Babylon." And at this, the seer recognizes that this is the empire who rules in Persia. The next tree, we've lost its name in the fragmentary texts, but the tree describes its rule over the seas and the harbors, which would make a lot more sense if we're talking about the empire of Greece. Now, the last two trees, items number 3 and 4, we don't have any information about them. So we're left kind of grabbing in the dark to try to make sense of this fragmentary text. Yet if the first kingdom was Babylon, Persia, the second was Greece, it makes sense that the third kingdom would be Rome. Now the big question is, what is the fourth kingdom? Generally in these four kingdoms chronologies, whether they're in the Hebrew Bible, ancient Jewish culture, or even in classical literature, the fourth kingdom is either the best kingdom or the worst. And in this time, it makes sense that if we had Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, that this one scribe of this Aramaic Four Kingdoms text understood the kingdom of God to be that fourth kingdom as history crescendos. So what does this new Aramaic Four Kingdoms text do for us? The first is, I think it's a reminder that apocalyptic writings like this, like Daniel or others in ancient Jewish and Christian heritage, are both elusive and elusive. They demand, in fact, they expect and thrive on ongoing interpretation due to the fact that they have cryptic and symbolic language. The second piece of information that's helpful for us is if we're used to reading Daniel in this way, now we've set a larger context to see that Daniel is not the only Aramaic writing in this period that's clocking world history in Four Kingdoms chronologies. In fact, if we look at the larger Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls, we find Daniel, our Four Kingdoms text, and several other Enochic writings that are looking for patterns of history and trying to understand and decode the future. Finally, the last thing that I think this text is trying to communicate to us is if we step back even further and think about all of our ancient Jewish and Christian apocalyptic literature, for all the diverse interpretations and debate over ancient or contemporary meanings, they're really about one thing. Their lowest common denominator is hope. All of these writers are writing into and under times of oppression, and how is it they communicate to their cultures, to their communities, that they can expect a better future if they just hold on to hope? So as we look at writings like this Four Kingdoms text, Daniel, or others in the ancient libraries of Christianity and Judaism, that message of a time-bound interpretation is important, but it's equally essential that we recognize their truly timeless quality. Thanks for watching this episode of Dead Sea Scrolls Digital Shorts. If you like this type of topic about scribes, scrolls, scriptures, be sure to like this video, leave us a comment in the comment section below, and subscribe for future notifications. If you're interested in this idea of apocalyptic history and this idea of 4 kingdoms, definitely connect with us here, because in the months ahead we have a published book coming out on the 4 kingdoms idea, not just in Daniel, not just in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but across art, architecture, and archaeology, as well as other texts in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So be sure to connect with us here for that. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.